Lettercast presents Shahnameh, the Letter of Kings by Hakim Abulqasem Ferdowsi. This episode, The Demon King Zahhak. The tale of Murdos and his son Zahhak. In those days, in the land of Arabs, there was a good and fine king who sighed for fear before God. His name was Murdos, and he was a man of great generosity and justice. Each of the herds he had entrusted to his shepherd numbered 1,000, whether of cows or Arab horses or goats or milk-giving sheep, and he freely gave milk to anyone who needed it. This righteous man had a son whose character had very little kindness in it. He was an ambitious youth named Zahhak, brave, turbulent in his moods, and of an evil disposition. Everyone called him Bivaras, a Pahlavi word meaning 10,000 horses, because he had 10,000 Arab horses, all with golden bridles. He spent most of his days and nights riding them, not into battle so much as to demonstrate his wealth and greatness. One day at dawn, Iblis appeared before Zahhak, presenting himself as a friendly well-wisher, and the youth was charmed by his conversation. Iblis said, "First, I want your promise that our talk will be confidential, and then I will tell you what I have to say." The young man greeted him kindly and answered, "I will tell no one about anything I hear from you." Iblis said, "Listen to my advice. No one but you should be in charge here. With a son like you, why should an old, worn-out father go on ruling for so long? Take his place. You are the person best fitted for his position. If you listen to my advice, you will be the ruler of the world." Zahhak heard him out and considered his words, but the thought of shedding his father's blood troubled his heart. He said, "This is wrong. Give me different advice. This is not something I can do." Iblis said, "If you don't follow my advice, you are breaking your promise. You will stay as a wretched subject, and your father will stay as a ruler." And so he led the Arab into his trap, and Zahhak decided to obey him. He said, "Tell me how to do it. What's the best way to accomplish this?" "Don't make excuses now," Iblis replied. "I will take care of how it's be done. You will rise in heaven like the sun." King Murdos owned a far orchard, and he would go there in the dawn's darkness to wash his head and body and to pray. The servant who accompanied him did not bring a lamp. Iblis dug a deep pit there, and when the Arab king arrived in the orchard the next morning, he fell into the pit and broke his back. The reverend man's good fortune was at an end, and his life departed. Then Iblis filled the pit with soul and went on his way. This noble king had taken pains to bring up his sons in comfort. He had rejoiced in him and given him wealth. But his evil offspring broke faith with him and became complicit in his father's murder. I heard a wise man said that no matter how much of a savage lion a man might be, he does not shed his father's blood, and if there is some untold secret here, it is the mother who can answer an inquiry's question. In this way, the willful, unjust Zahhak seized his father's throne, placed the Arab crown on his head, and became the dispenser of largesse and punishment to his people. When Iblis saw how effective this word had been, he gave some new evil advice. He said to Zahhak, "If you do my will, I give you all you could wish from the world. Follow my orders, and you will be king of the earth. Its animal, men, birds, and fish will all be yours. Iblis makes himself into a cook. Next, Iblis disguised himself as an intelligent, talkative young man and appeared humbly before Zahhak. He said, "If the king will accept my service, I am an excellent cook." Zahhak welcomed him, had a place set aside for him, and gave him the key to the royal kitchens and pantries. At that time, not many foods were known, and there were few dishes made from it. The new cook made dishes from the flesh of birds and animals, feeding Zahhak on blood to build up his valor, as if he were a lion, all the while obeying all of his orders, and apparently submitting his heart to the king's commands. First, he made a dish from egg yolks to make him strong and healthy. Zahhak ate the dish and congratulated his cook, who received the reward for his labors. The cunning Iblis said, "May you live proudly and forever. Tomorrow I shall prepare food which will nourish all your body." Then he left the king's presence and meditated all night on the wonderful dish he would make the following day. In the morning, the sun's topaz appeared in the blue dome of heaven, and the cook's heart was filled with hope as he brought in a dish made from partridge and white pheasant meat. When the king of Arabs sat down to eat, he gave his foolish head into Iblis's hand. On the third day, the cook made dishes of chicken and lamb kebab, and on the fourth day, of veal cooked with saffron, rosewater, aged wine, and pure musk. When Zahhak stretched out his hand and ate, he was astonished at the man's skill. He said to him, "You are a well-meaning man. Consider what is that you desire, and ask me for it." The cook said, "May you live forever, your majesty. My heart is filled with love for you, and my soul is nourished only by your glances. I have one request to ask of the victorious king, even though I am quite unworthy of it, and this is that he will command me to kiss his shoulders, and rub my ears and face there." When Zahhak heard his vote, he had no notion of what the man was plotting, and said, "I grant you your request, and may your name be honored for it." Then he said that the cook should kiss his shoulders as if he were his bosom friend. The demon kissed the king's shoulder and disappeared forthwith. No man had ever seen such a wonderful thing all over the world. Two black snakes grew from Zahhak's shoulders. In his distress, the king looked everywhere for a solution, and finally he simply cut them off, but they grew again on his shoulder like the limbs of a tree. Learned doctors gathered about him and one by one gave their opinions. They tried every kind of remedy, but were unable to cure the king of his affliction. Then Iblis himself appeared in the guise of a wise doctor and said to Zahhak, "These growths were fated to appear. Leave the snakes where they are. They should not be cut back. You must prepare food for them and placate them by feeding them. This is the only thing you can do. Give them nothing but human brain to eat, and they should die from such food." And what was the evil demon's purpose in offering such advice, if not to empty the ears of mankind? Jamshid's reign comes to an end. Meanwhile, Persia was filled with dissension and revolt. The bright day darkened, and men broke faith with Jamshid. His divine fire grew dim, and he gave himself to evil and foolishness. Petty kings and their armies sprang on all sides. Every province produced its own claimant to the throne, and they felt no love for Jamshid. The contingent made their way to the Arab lands where they had heard there lived a terrifying lord with a face like a serpent's. Seeking a king, Persia's horsemen approached Zahhak. They greeted him as a sovereign, hailing him as the ruler of Iran. This serpentine creature came to Persia as quickly as the wind blows, and there sat on crown on his head. From every province he gathered together an army of Persian and Arabs and attacked Jamshid on his throne, drawing the news tight about him. When Jamshid saw that his good fortune had deserted him, he fled and went into hiding, grieving in darkness, abandoning his crown and throne, his sovereignty, armies, and wealth to Zahhak. For 100 years no one saw him anywhere in the world, but this infidel king reappeared on the shores of the Sea of China. He had hidden himself away from the Serpent King, but could not escape him in the end. When Zahhak had him in his clutches, he gave him no time to plead his case, but had him sawn in two and filled the world with terror at his fate. Jamshid's throne and glory were at an end, drawn away by a time as an ember draws away straw. And what profit to him were all the troubles he endured while he sat on his throne? He had lived for 700 years, bringing good and evil to light. But what good is a long life, since the world will never reveal her secrets to you? Her wine and honey will allay your fears, and her beguiling voices charm your ears, and very sure that she will never show evil to you, she strikes the fatal blow. The reign of Zahhak. Zahhak reigned for 1,000 years, and from end to end the world was his to command. The wise concealed themselves and their deeds, and evils achieved their heart's desire. Virtue was despised and magic applauded. Justice hid itself away while evil flourished. Demons rejoiced in their weakness, while goodness was spoken of only in secret. Two innocent young women were dragged from Jamshid's house, trembling like the leaves of a willow tree. They were Jamshid's sisters, the crown among his womenfolk. One of these well women was Shahnameh, and her chaste sister was Arnavos. Zahhak trained them in magic and taught them evil ways, since he himself knew nothing but evil, murder, rapine, and the burning of cities. Each night 2 young men, either peasant or of noble stock, were brought to Zahhak's palace. There, in the hope of finding a cure for king's malady, they were killed and their brains made into a meal for the snakes. At the same time, there were two noble upright men who lived in his realm. One was named Armail the Pious, and the other Garmail the Perceptive. Together they taught the king's injustice and evil manner in which he was nourished. One said, "We should go and present ourselves as cooks to the king, to see if we can save at least one of each pair who are killed to feed the snakes." They learned how to prepare numerous dishes and were accepted as cooks in the king's kitchen. When the victims were dragged before the cooks, and the time came for their blood to be spilled, the 2 men looked at one another with eyes filled with tears and with rage in their hearts. Unable to do more, they saved one of the two from slaughter, substituting the brains of a sheep which they mixed with the brains of a man they killed. And so they were able to rescue one of each pair, whom they said, "Hide yourself away in the plains and mountains, far from the towns." In this way they saved 30 victims a month, and when there were 200 of them, the cook secretly gave them goats and sheep, and showed them a deserted area where they could live. The Kurds, who never settled in town and descended from these men. Meanwhile, Zahhak reigned ever more cruelly. If a warrior had a beautiful daughter hidden away in his house, Zahhak would accuse him of consorting with demons and kill him, and have the girls brought to him as his slave. He acted without regard to the customs of kings or the laws of religion. Zahhak sees Fereydun in a dream. See what God did to Zahhak when he still had 40 years to live. Late one night, he was sleeping with Arnavaz when he dreamed that three warriors suddenly appeared from an imperial palace. The youngest of the three was as tall as cypress tree. The royal fire radiated from him, and he strode forward between the other two like a prince, ready for battle and bearing an ox-headed mace. He attacked Zahhak and smote him on the head with his ox-headed mace. The young man flayed him from head to foot, tied his hand behind his back, and set a yoke on his shoulders. Then he dragged him to Mount Damovan with a group of onlooking followings. Zahhak writhed in his sleep and felt that his liver would split with terror. He cried out, and his pillowed chamber shook with the noise. His beautiful serving girl sprang up at their master's scream, and Arnavos said to him, "Tell me, my lord, what is troubling you? You are sleeping safely in your own house. It must be something in your soul that has terrified you. The seven climes are yours to rule, and animals mill, and demons watch over your safety." The king said to his womenfolk, "You will not be able to conceal what I tell you, and when you hear this wonder, you will despair of my life." And Abbas replied, "You should tell us your secret. We might be able to suggest some remedy, since no calamity is without a remedy." The king described his dream, and Anabas said, "You should not neglect this, but your throne rules the world, which shines with your splendor, and all its animals, men, demons, birds, and fairies pay homage to you and your seal ring. Summon astrologers and magicians from every province. Tell them what you have seen. Seek out the truth of the matter, seeing the whose hand your life lies, and whether it is a man, a demon, or a fairy that threatens you. When you know this, that will be the time to make plans. Don't travel in fear at your enemies' malevolence." The king liked the advice of this woman, whose body was as elegant as a cypress tree, and whose face was as lovely as the stars. The world was black like a raven's wing, when suddenly light appeared above the mountains. It was as if the sun were scattering topazes in a purple sky. The king summoned eloquent and learned sages from every quarter and told them of his heart-wrenching dream. He said, "Is it good or ill this sign portent? When my earthly life come to an end, who will come after me? Say who will own this royal diadem and belt and throne? Reveal this mystery and do not lie. Tell me this secret or prepare to die." The sages' lips were dry, and their cheeks wet with tears. They said to one another, "If we tell him what will happen, our souls will be worthless. And if he doesn't hear from us, we must wash our hands of life here and now." 3 days went by, and no one dared to speak to Zahhak. On the fourth, he said, "Either be strung on a gibbet alive or tell me my fate." All the sages bowed their hands, and their hearts were filled with terror, their eyes with tears. One of them, a wise and prudent man named Zahhak, stepped forward. Anxiety seized his heart, but he spoke out fearlessly before Zahhak. "Rid your mind of vain thoughts, since no man is born from his mother but for death. Many worthy kings have sat on the throne before you and experienced great sorrow and great joy. Each of them died and left the world in another hand. Surround yourself with iron walls reaching to the sky, but you cannot remain here. Another man will occupy your throne, and your good fortune will lie in the dust. This celestial ruler's name will be Fereydun. He is not born yet. His mother's times of anxiety and sighs is still to come. But when he is born, he will be like a fruitful tree. When he grows to be a man, he will lift his head up to the moon and seek the crown and throne and royal belt. He will be super tall, and on his shoulders he will carry an iron ox-headed mace, which he will bring down on your head. Then he will bind you and drag you from your palace into the streets. Zahhak asked, "Why should he bind me? What will make him hate me?" The sage replied, "If you are wise, you will know that a man does not do evil for no reason. His father will die at your hands, and this will fill him with the desire of vengeance. A cow called Barmaye will be his wet nurse, and this too will be destroyed by you and be added because of his hatred." Zahhak heard him out, then fell from the throne in a faint, and the sage, fearing for his life, fled from the royal presence. When Zahhak regained consciousness, he sat on his throne again and gave orders that he would be scored for signs of Fereydun. He knew no rest and could neither eat nor sleep. The brightness of his days had darkened.